working hard can give you what we've got. Because I wanted to be in health, I always was interested in helping people, but also in science and in chemistry. We didn't have much free or spare time, and it was very intensive. I love solving problems. I always try and do my best for my family, for my husband, for my son, future daughter. We can change our dose, we can change our preparation, we can change how much they need to use. It makes it easier in some ways. I think we work as a team and we prioritise the patient at the same time.
G'day. How are you?
Great.
Yeah? This is very exciting. This is our first ever podcast.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, from NCC. And it's currently January of 2025. Thank you so much for providing the challenge. And perhaps to give everyone a bit more insight, do you want to just tell us how we ended up doing a podcast?
How did it even begin?
Do you remember?
Oh, not really. Oh, I had to do something I didn't want to do. And then you had to do this because you weren't ready to do this.
Yep, you nailed it. So remember the HAG award that you and Evan and team have brought in, the Have a Go, love it.
Very popular.
It's done well,
It's gone well.
Doing the rounds.
Yeah.
And then I thought for a bit of fun while we were sitting there one day, I'd ask you to video record what it's all about and put it on Teams.
Yep.
And then from there you...
Against my will.
Yep, kindly did it.
With great protest.
But then, what did you do to me?
Threw back a challenge.
Yes. That's even worse. No, it's fabulous. So look, for a bit of fun, we thought we'd put this together, and here we are.
Here we are.
Awesome. So just tell me a bit about yourself, Eliza.
I am the Pharmacist Team Leader, as you're aware.
Yeah, that's right. All right, tell our keen new viewers more about you and your role here.
Okay, I am the Pharmacist Team Leader here and Senior Pharmacist. I've been here nearly 2 years, but I've been compounding nearly 10 this year, which seems a long time. My whole pharmacy career, actually.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's start there. That's an awesome place to start. So you've worked tirelessly to get through uni to be a pharmacist. Why did you want to be a pharmacist?
Because I wanted to be in health, but my nurse mum begged me not to be a nurse, to do shift work.
Ah, such a wise mum.
And my brother's friends did it, and I always was interested in helping people, but also in science and in chemistry. So I didn't want to be super hands-on, but I still wanted to be able to be involved.
Gotcha.
So it was the right one that fit.
Yeah,
right
cool.
career that fit.
Cool. Where did you study?
Griffith Uni. On the Gold
Awesome.
Coast.
And your uni experience overall?
I feel like pharmacy was a really hard degree compared to some other friends that were in non-health degrees. I feel like we didn't have much free or spare time, and it was very intensive. And there was a big learning curve going from school to uni, but then once I got used to it, I started to get a great GPA after that. But that was a rocky start. We made it.
Yeah, awesome. So you've come out of uni and, like you're saying, 10 years in compounding, you then thought you'd do your internship in a compounding pharmacy.
Yeah, I did half, community and compounding, because you're only allowed to do up to 50%, not in normal community. I started uni really young, at 16, and finished at 21.
Wow.
So I had to make a lot of life choices very young. So that's what I decided to do.
How'd that go?
That was interesting, not turning 18 till the second year of uni.
Yeah.
So I think you're lumped with a lot of choices when you come out of uni, and your internship is probably, out of all of your years of uni, your most important year, where you have to make the most choices. So I did half. I got offered full-time at both places when I finished, and I picked compounding because it matched what I enjoyed the most.
Awesome. And then an established career over 10 years, you would have seen some pretty challenging and cool things from a pharmacist's perspective.
Definitely. I definitely have different stories to my friends in community and in hospital. There have been some big ups and downs in compounding as well, with legislation and that sort of thing. I've seen some great outcomes for patients that have had, terrible histories leading up to going into compounding or going into the integrative medicine field. So it's been very rewarding, and I don't think I would have had that much of a rewarding career if I hadn't gone down this, I guess, more niche field of pharmacy.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Never a dull day.
No.
So just let me sort of deep dive into the specifics of your role, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let me know sort of what your average day as a pharmacist team leader and senior pharmacist is like.
Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of questions. Our biggest thing as team leaders is...
Team leader role, 10 years of experience. Why would you sign up to a challenge like that type of role?
Well, I was doing some of it anyway, I think.
Awesome.
I think when people...
Scope of job creep.
I was doing it anyway. No, I think when people... Which is great. I'd rather people ask questions if I can give them an easy answer. I think when people know you've worked in compounding, you're pretty experienced with it, even if they've halfway got to a question or halfway, got to resolving it themselves, it's really nice that we have so many of us we can bounce off anyway. And it doesn't hurt having someone experienced to cross-check that against. And then a lot of the mornings I'd be here and they knew I'd been in management before anyway, so I'd try and organise stuff and organise workflow regardless. So it just sort of seamlessly happened.
Awesome. So in what you do then, what's a rewarding part? What of your day normally? What's sort of the reward that you can take from the challenges that you get through?
I think if I can resolve problems, I love solving problems, or if I can teach someone something, if it's a patient or a team member, because I found when I was first learning compounding, so many patients aren't educated, most pharmacists aren't educated in uni about it either, and it's been a lot of learning over a lot of years for me. So if I can help someone to understand something a bit better or make their day easier or make a patient's life easier, like I've had comments, oh, you've explained that so much better than my doctor did, because we take the time to do that. That's really rewarding for me, is seeing someone happy or satisfied with how I've been able to answer them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it keeps you pushing forward through the
it keeps me
the
wanting
ups and
to learn
downs.
too.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I hate when someone comes to me and I can't answer their question. If I can't, then I'll still look into it anyway, even if they do too.
That was going to be my question.
Oh yeah.
You're not the sort of personality to just be satisfied with, well.
No. No. I go, oh no, I can't answer that. Oh, I've got to look into it now until I know it perfectly.
Yeah. and I guess that's kind of the challenge with the niche that we're in. How do you manage doing the mundane, necessary stuff, and then the time required for some of that really investigatory, funky things that you got to do?
Well, it's good having the balance, I think. If you get, bogged down in only researching, only investigating, you kind of feel... I like to achieve things through the day, and if I feel like I haven't, done enough in my day, it's hard to measure that against investigating something for just one person. We've still got other people that are not as complex cases, but they, we've still got to check things, we've still got to get them in and out of the lab, we've still got to get the postage out, we've still got to make sure things are charged properly to have the business functioning. But then that's a goal to achieve as well. I want to achieve my numbers, I want to achieve our targets, I want to make sure the business hits its targets too, not just investigate. So it's like a good balance,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
That's exciting. So of all that sort of stuff, just tell everyone watching something that you've done that they may not be aware of. What makes Eliza?
Like is that my thing, my special thing I've done?
Yeah. Could
I have climbed Uluru.
be. Really?
Yeah.
What do they call it now? Because it's got a more technical name, hasn't it?
Oh, it used to be Ezrock.
Oh,
I think
right.
It's Uluru
Is
now.
Uluru the technical one?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
Apologies for my...
can't climb it now.
Yeah. So you were one of the last.
Back in the day.
What was it like? What was the experience like?
Terrifying.
Yeah?
It's so steep and it's not smooth at all. It's like really rough rock. and I slipped and grazed my leg, and then there's no railing at one point. There is a railing, but it's like this chain link thing that you've got to like pull yourself up on, and it's just a sheer drop on one side. So it's...
And you just have to navigate that to get to the top perspective.
It's like, good luck.
And what was it like when you reached the top?
Worth it, amazing.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the Olgas, which is Carta Juta now. You can see that from the top, and it's just, you feel tiny.
Yeah. It seems very strange. I've not been there myself, but it seems so fascinating that out of all this flat land, there's this object that sounds more difficult to climb than simply just climbing up a set of stairs.
Oh, it's...
How cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so then let us know a bit more about your family. You've got new family coming too.
I have new family coming. She doesn't let me forget she's coming.
How long?
A month.
A month.
That's it. 4 weeks.
You're down to
booked in.
The pointy end of the stick.
It is.
Which is kind of it's the reason why you time frames helped me greatly.
Yes.
Get to this point where we're actually recording something.
My due date is your due date.
That's and given that it was the challenge that you set upon me, I thought it would be only fair to sit down and chat about stuff.
Yeah. Loop me into that challenge.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You.
So what motivates you?
My family.
Yeah.
So me and my family, I have to always do the best for me. I always need to be achieving. It's a pro and a con, I would say. But I always try and do my best for my family, for my husband, for my son, future daughter, because I don't want us to ever want for anything, but I also want to show my kids that, working hard can give you what we've got, kind of thing. So it's always for them. That's
very cool.
Yeah.
You've had some pretty cool home achievements this year.
Oh, the best was selling the investment property.
And at home you've put a pool in.
We put a pool in.
That's a pretty cool thing before summer.
Best thing we could have done to that place was put that pool in. We've used it from winter when it was put in.
Yeah.
For ice plunges at that point because it's freezing where we are in winter. And now we get in it 3 times a day on the weekends. So
awesome.
Perfect.
Who needs to shower?
No, not me.
And of course, Cooper would have just thought winter was an appropriate time to swim normally.
Of course.
Kids don't have...
No, they sit there and they go, I'm not cold. Yeah. And they've got purple faces.
That's exactly right. Isn't that great? If only we could take the same innocence in our approach to decision making. And
I wish I had the energy that he has at this point.
But also, I mean, yeah, I do feel the same sometimes on the home front. But also we get to cover off a relatively large perspective of things in one day.
True.
Kids just get to have fun.
They do.
Lucky them.
I tell him you're living your best life at the moment.
Yeah, but also you're contributing as much as you can to helping him allow for that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome. Let's then hit up some more compounding. Is that cool? Yeah. It's a very specific niche. So, just tell me a bit about, from a high level, you mentioned earlier, the compounding industry's had some ups and downs, and what's your perspective and gut feel at the moment on compounding as a specificity within pharmacy in Australia?
I think it's very important, but I think with the ups and downs, the downs are there are some that jump into it not ready and not with full training, to say it politely, that sometimes give ones like us that do such hard work to stay above board with everything, that give compounding as a whole a bad name. And I hate that happens because it's such an important field. It's for people that have tried. People need another option. People get to us and they're desperate. They need to know that someone wants to try and help them. And they've tried everything in mainstream. They might have gone full integrated, but we're like that nice happy medium in between where we've still got the patient, doctor, pharmacist triangle. We still, are fully qualified and have a lot of education under our belt, and we can combine normal medicine with integrative. But yeah, the ups and downs are that you have some that go into it for the wrong reasons, I suppose, which then, like with most things in pharmacy, causes a crackdown, causes auditing, causes stuff to happen. But I guess at the end of the day, the ones that are doing the right thing and the ones that are, have the right intentions are the ones that will come out of it, which has happened cyclically for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So
it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always this continual...
Something will happen. Everyone will get new regs, new things
Yeah.
in, tighten up things, change things. They'll continue on, and ones like us, which 11 years now, Matt, for you, for this business.
Yeah, it makes me feel old. No, it's great. Yeah, we're very, very lucky. Very lucky. But, it takes a huge team to do all this sort of stuff. Any positives to come out of the last 12 months of industry challenge that you've seen?
Positives, I think the tightening up is not a bad thing, to be honest. I have stories from some patients that come and say, oh, my old compounder, they're not open anymore, they were doing it this way. And then some I've had a deeper chat with them, and they've been putting 4% E4M in as a slow release instead of 40, and they're not sure why it's not lasting, why the dose isn't lasting for them, kind of thing. So I don't think it's, necessarily a negative that all these new regulations are coming in and that sort of thing. Yeah, gotcha.
And the big thing of the year last year was the Ozempic crackdown.
Yes.
Thoughts, feelings? Yeah.
I think again, wrong people, wrong reasons.
Wrong place.
Wrong place. And there are people that might have needed it, but it's, again, wrong intentions, I think. And I think that's what I love about here is anything we ever do is never with the wrong intention. It's with the right intention. And that's why I think we keep succeeding with what we're doing.
Yeah, awesome. For anyone that might be watching that isn't all that well versed on compounding, any common misconceptions that you'd like to debunk?
Common misconceptions. One is that we're all the same.
And what do you mean by we?
We.
As an industry?
As an industry, as compounding pharmacists, we're not all the same. Not each business is the same. When you go into a community pharmacy and you ask for a box of Panadol, you're going to get the same box of Panadol, whichever pharmacy you go into.
Gotcha.
Where you're going to get probably the same advice, pretty similar advice, because all the pharmacists have learnt the same thing at uni, within reason. When you come into us here versus if you went to someone in Victoria versus if you went to someone on the coast, it could be all different. We've got access to different wholesalers. We've got access to different, even different standards of drug. We always aim for the highest standard, but there's like nothing black and white to say that you have to do that. And our formulations might be different. I know they've introduced rules where you need to try and copy what someone else has had before, but it doesn't mean that they're going to. And the advice that you get might be different as well. So I think it's, just being mindful. If you find a good one, stay with the good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think because of the complexity of all of that, so from the role that you're in and the responsibilities and all that sort of stuff that you have to work through, how are you confident that whatever's taking place is, like you said, to the best of what those variations have?
I think it's making sure you're actually trained in the field. When I first started, you weren't required to have any training. A lot of my training has been self-directed learning because there's not a single handbook. There's not, you can't just go to the AMH and look it up. And it's using tools from all the different states because, our state might might be a little vague in one area of their regs, so we need to look at another ones. And it's, I think I always have the principle of if I wouldn't give it to my child or my parent, then I wouldn't give it to a patient.
Yeah.
And the standards we have here as well are very high. I've seen some things in some places.
Yep, life experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's like we have very high ethics here as well. And we have very high legal standards and moral standards. So, yeah, I think I just always bring it back to if I wouldn't take it myself or give it to a family member, or I didn't feel sure about that, then I wouldn't give it to a patient, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Memorable moments. What sort of memorable moments have you got?
Oh, I have many, but then I went completely blank.
Yeah.
One that I think, stuck with me because I have my own chronic diseases. This was for a chronic disease patient. It was working closely with a nurse practitioner. And they had this patient they were trying to treat, and they were really struggling to get retention of this novel dosage form. They couldn't. They knew it should work based on clinical trials that had happened, but they couldn't get the drug to, retain contact with the patient long enough to be able to work. So she rang asking for advice, which is what I find happens a lot more in compounding. You actually, have that collaboration with allied health professionals and doctors and that sort of thing a lot more because they come to you when they need sort of help on something. So we had a chat a bit more and sort of... Sorry, you're looking at my leg.
No, I'm just making sure that all the stuff's working. Thank gosh for good editing.
Yeah. What's wrong with it? So we had a chat a bit more and found that because it was going to a mucous membrane, we thought that might be the problem. So I looked into it a bit more, and it was when mucoadherent polymers were coming out newly, basically, in compounding.
And I don't mean to stop you because it's an awesome story. What is a muco-adherent polymer? It's a very technical product.
It's basically a preparation that certain compounding companies created to adhere better and stick and have retention in mucous membranes, mouth, vaginal, rectal, that sort of thing.
Got it.
Because they're hard areas to get things to stick onto. They were also very conscious about cost, so I had to look into the research on... Ideally, you want it to be all this polymer so it just stays there and doesn't move, but cost was a very conscious thing. So we essentially found the percentage level that it could be at to still be effective, but not be through the roof with cost. I made these suggestions, we got it scripted, found the right dosing devices, which was also another problem, and the patient started it, and the nurse practitioner followed up with me and said, hey, we're actually getting a response, their markers are coming down, and I was just like, yes, it was really rewarding. It was nice that I'd actually been able to help someone that had struggled for so long.
Yeah.
And, I'd helped that nurse as well. Yeah.
What a difference you can make, hey?
Yeah.
As opposed to a little bit more traditional pharmacy medicine where your limitations might be pre-prepared or...
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We can change our dose, we can change our preparation, we can change how much they need to use. It makes it easier in some ways, but you've got to be interested in trying to solve a problem or be a bit of a detective sometimes.
Yeah, and perhaps a little bit more difficult in other ways when there isn't a path to follow.
Yes.
You've really got to try and, like you said, be the Sherlock Holmes detective where...
Yeah, find something with evidence.
Yeah, that's hard.
To make sure you've got evidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you've got some sort of literature, have the patient on board, have the practitioner on board too. That's not the only time that sort of scenario has happened either. It happens all the time. It's just one that really stuck with me. I think it was one of my early on ones. Yeah.
Do you feel like because it stuck with you, it was like that moment where you've gone through that 16 to 21 year old at uni, it's been hard. You've had ups and downs in in work and personal, and then all of a sudden you get this moment, you're like, now I have the clarity.
And it sort of clicked as well. It was like, I actually really enjoy doing this. It's not, I mean, you will have some not slow days, you'll have some just standard run-of-the-mill days, but it's never mundane. You'll always get something interesting, and that really solidified that I actually really like using my brain to solve a problem and help someone at the same time. And then I've been able to apply that to other people afterwards as well.
How cool.
Yeah.
How cool.
Which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, one of the questions I had down there for earlier in the chat was what drives you? So tell me a bit more about your passions in compounding. Are there certain fields? Are there certain patient types? Are there?
I definitely, because, you know, I have my own health problems and people in my family do. I love dealing with patients that have experienced the same, just because I think you can empathise with them a bit more and go, I actually understand you. I get where you're coming from. And then after having my first child, I got very interested in fertility and children's health and women's health, and then how that, you know, how fertility, for example, how you can, there are so many integrative ways to treat and prepare a woman and understand a woman and her cycle and her body and the supplements she could be on that, you know, I've spoken to friends and colleagues and patients that don't realise there are so many steps you can take before needing to go, you know, on way more hardcore protocols.
Do you think there's a bit of a misconception out there that, you know, patients that might be suffering from certain limitations or success rates, they go, oh, what if I could hear and learn about compounding? Do you think it's just a lack of awareness?
I think it's a lack of awareness. I think there are some brilliant fertility specialists that are using all this sort of stuff already, but patients don't know to go to them. Patients don't know to go to those practitioners that are using a lot of these integrative options, and looking at, you know, outcomes from those practitioners. They're brilliant, and I think lack of awareness. They were ones that I brought up with GPs that I was talking to that didn't have a clue about anything I was talking about, and risk versus benefit is, you know, I definitely still think 6 to 12 months of trying, depending on your age, still go and seek specialist advice. But if there's no risk in trying these measures beforehand, I don't see why not help yourself, why not help reduce stress if there's something that can give you a better chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, a lot of opportunity.
So much.
Very cool, very cool. What do you see in, so we sort of spoke about, you know, your passion in compounding. We spoke about the challenges that the industry's been through in the last little while. Where do you see the next 12 or 24 or 36 months going? And then after you see where the industry's going, where do you want to see yourself going in the industry? Well,
I know one great thing about here is you're innovative. So you're open to change. And there are some pharmacists that don't like change. And you love change.
Yeah, I get, you know, there is the chance that too much change can also be
a little daunting,
a little confronting,
a little bit much.
Hence enters the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think it's good having, I guess, a leader to our team that is open to new things, because I've seen compounders that get stuck in their ways. Several different ones, and they get, I guess, too comfortable. And I think that's the healthcare world at the moment. It's evolving all the time, especially given the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And the changes that have happened. A lot more people are becoming more in control of their own health, and looking at different pathways. And I think we've seen an upturn of people, taking their own health into their own hands and asking us for advice on what to do. Like people are doing their own DNA testing and
order it to your house.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Getting all that sort of stuff themselves and getting tailored supplements suggested to them, which they're then coming to us for. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that personalised health stuff happening, because people are realising, hey, we're not all, we don't all fit in box A, B or C. Yep. We're all very different. Yep. And that's where compounding becomes super important, because we're the only way you can tailor something that much to yourself. Yep. So I think a lot of future stuff will be more personalised, more tailored, more, collaboration, integration, and a lot more preventative health. People are realising, again, through these DNA things, that there are things that they can try and start to prevent.
Do you think the last, that the 5-letter word that we went through about 3 years ago? Yeah, I don't know if we need to mention
that
it
old
again.
chestnut.
Yeah, that's right. The necessary to pivot.
Yeah.
Do you think that might have just brought a bit of awareness to patients in terms of?
Definitely. And I think it's caused a lot of people to do their own research and their own investigation, and form their own opinions a lot more. Sometimes not always. Yeah, the greatest thing.
Their opinions might be driven by Dr. Google, perhaps.
Yeah, or fear in some people.
Very true.
But I think it's, we're in an important position to, help those people that are wanting to help themselves and help prevent and help treat themselves, but also link them with people like ourselves that are actually, educated and look into things and know research behind things, and can link those patients up with practitioners that have trained in those fields too. So I feel like we're an important bridge between how healthcare is evolving, because people come to us because we're a different field, and we can connect them with either just ourselves or other people that can help them more. So I think we'll become more important for that, that linking there.
And that with that linking, and like you said earlier, you talked about the healthcare triangle. How do you feel in the last 10 years that's evolved or changed or, yeah?
I think in compounding in particular, it's become a lot more open. It used to just be what my doctor says goes. I'm finding a lot more doctors are A, asking us for advice, but B, being open to hearing what we have to say as well, and taking on board our feedback, and vice versa. I have some brilliant doctors I'll call and I'll go, hey, why are we doing this? And they're like, oh, actually, I've got this brilliant new research I've found. So I think there's a lot more interprofessional sharing of learning.
Cool. So over the last 10 years, you've seen it improve, strengthen?
I think so.
Great.
Because, like I said, a lot more people are looking to alternatives, and we're really lucky. We work with a lot of doctors that are, looking for alternatives, looking for things to help make their patient lives better. I think we both share the same goals, kind of thing. Yeah. So it's great when you'll have a practitioner come to us and go, hey, I've looked into this, I'm looking at these studies, is this something you could do for me? What's the viability of that? And then, you can work together and, help solve that problem for that patient. And a lot of our doctors as well know that when they send someone to us, if we're going to give the patient the full rundown, we're going to give them all the info, we're going to, check them clinically. So I think there's that trust there.
Seems like when the patient's put at the centre of every decision that's made, suddenly the different professions work more collaboratively. Isn't it great? And then once you've done that, you then see the patient outcome just substantially improved.
For sure.
Very, very cool. Open topics. We called them open discussion topics. So just keep them open. Team dynamics. Tell me a bit about the culture in your team, the team you lead, what you look for in a workplace.
I think we're a great team. We have a nice balance of we can have a joke with each other and have good banter with each other, but at the same time, we can snap back into professional mode nearly immediately when needed, and we don't really let it affect how efficient we are. When there was a newer staff member that asked me when they first started, they were like, what do you actually think of the team? What do you think of Matt? What do you think of management? How do you think, what do you think of it, basically? And I said, look, I've worked some places and this is completely different. It's one of the least toxic workplace I've ever worked. People genuinely support each other. People genuinely help each other. And people have the, same... I think most people here have the same desire to achieve and have pride in where they work, which is really nice to see. And you don't always see that in workplaces. I've had some dark days here, from personal things and professional things, when you'll have incidents happen, but the support is, I've never had that at a different workplace. And the fact that everyone's willing to listen to each other and take on board feedback and all that sort of thing is a bonus as well on top of all of that.
How neat. It's very cool. Very cool. That'll be our new logo soon. I love heart, yeah. So what do you think the workplace does best? You spoke about, support, working through challenges and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you think, is there a way to sort of summarise or just, at a high level, keep it short and succinct in terms of what
do we do best?
What do we do best?
I think we prioritise the patient. I think we work as a team and we prioritise the patient at the same time.
Cool.
Basically.
That's really cool. What's a challenge? Tell me about the challenges that you've been through in your role here. Just give me one challenge, and I'm curious to sort of hear how you've taken learning away from that challenge. One
challenge is the same challenge I had when I went from being an intern to a pharmacist to a manager, and same thing here when I went from being a pharmacist to a team leader, is adjusting your hat to being, not in charge of people, but being, a staff member then versus, directing staff members, maintaining respect, but also having people understand that it's part of your role to direct them. And then particularly coming here as well was being in a different compounding places for so long and changing to how a different compounder works. But I found that that's been not an issue, basically.
Cool. But talking about like you said, trying to change your hat from, the same role as others in a team like pharmacists to then suddenly being, this new role's created. You're a team leader. We now need you to help supervise and lead the team that you were just intimately working with.
Yeah.
Challenges, opportunities, learnings. What sort of specifics have you seen or taken away from that?
I think listening to people. I think it's important to hear everyone's opinions. I love that in our meetings with the pharmacists, we'll get everyone's opinion and we'll come to a solution all together. I think team leading is more about identifying a problem but working collaboratively with everyone to be able to come to a solution. I don't think it's a case of going, this is what we're doing, I've decided. I think it's more about hearing what people think and and then they're more likely to take on board what the end decision is going to be anyway.
And you probably found it simpler than when you're trying to get to a resolution of a challenge. If you take that approach versus the old
definitely. Plus, I'm not always right. I'm rarely completely right. Like, there's always things people add in. Different people have different experiences. Like Bruce, brand new to compounding, but many, many, many years of pharmacy experience. So there are invaluable insights he'll have. There are invaluable business insights you'll have. There's invaluable insights Kelly will have from working in different compounders too. So I think we've got such a good team of people that, each throw something into the mix.
How cool. Strength in numbers.
Exactly.
How cool. Any shared experience or insights you'd give to someone, pharmacist or non-pharmacist, that might go, this is an interesting pharmacy niche. I wonder if it's for me.
Very different to normal pharmacy.
Yeah. To not scare them off, but to also be realistic.
Yeah, take everything you know about community pharmacy and like keep the basics of legislation, but then like throw out the rest that you know about medications. And then prepare for a steep...
It's very daunting. Yeah. You were just about to say a steep
learning curve.
Got it.
It's a lot of self-directed learning.
Got it.
A lot of question asking. But your brain will always be stimulated. You'll never have a boring day where you feel mundane, like you're just sticking a label on a box. I hate when people say that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an old
demeaning.
Adage to what a pharmacist really does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
we'll have to think
in community, and you're assessing so many things when you put that label on that box.
Precisely.
Yeah,
and that's a really interesting point too. So, yeah, the assessment in community versus the assessment in compounding. For a new pharmacist going, maybe I should compound for a bit of a change. How do you deal with that risk difference? Because you've now got not just the risk of the community as a compounding pharmacist, you've got the formulation risk, you've got...
Correct.
It grows.
It's the patient becomes a lot more in depth. You become a lot more involved with that patient. You need a lot more history for that patient to make sure what you're giving them is appropriate. So it makes, which is why, one of the biggest fees in compounding is not just the making part of it, is the labour involved in the whole process of it, which is why sometimes when people are surprised that, it's not $31.60 or $7.
$70, yeah. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of going, well, this one's sort of tailored just for you. And when we say it's tailored just for you, we actually mean it is tailored just for you. We do the risk assessment on the person, make sure it's actually appropriate for them, suitable, going to help them. Then we actually need to look at the preparation itself as well. Is this going to last to... the usage time, is it going to expire? Is it going to be stable? Is the drug going to be evenly distributed? Does it meet legal requirements? Does it meet national and state legal requirements? Because they're all different.
And each state is different in itself?
Each state is different in itself. And
sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It is. Do we need to, control drugs? We need to respect the state it's written in, but also our own state. So there adds extra rules on top of that. So what might be, a 5-minute patient becomes a much more in-depth patient, which is, I guess, gives a bit of insight into how much is involved in just one person. Makes it, which is what it is, makes it more personal, makes it their own preparation. Yeah. It
sounds like a lot, but do you think there's ways to find ways individually of managing that whole process in a...
Oh, absolutely. And plus, once you become very familiar with certain preparations, that's going to be... It's going to know it's going to work or not going to work. Like, once you know that the water coefficient or water activity is low and you can assign it a long expiry date, it's going to be more stable because USP says we can. The drug and doses more intimately, which is what I said with the learning curve.
Absolutely.
So
that's a really cool question too. So how long, if you're a new pharmacist going back 10 years ago, how long do you think the learning curve could be?
Mine's still going.
So it's at least 10 years. That's cool.
Because there'll be new trends that come out. There'll be new things that come out. There'll be compounders that do certain things that other ones don't. When I first came here, the buspirone and bupropion was not something I'd done before. So we started doing the pharmacist talks, and I picked those 2 drugs to talk about because I wanted to know about them, because I wanted to make sure everyone knew all about them, because what we use them for in compounding is not the same as what they're used for commercially in Australia, and the doses are totally different. So the learning curve doesn't stop. It's not as sharp, but I think it's an exponential curve. But I'd say the first, it's 3 to 6 months before you start to feel comfortable. And I had the pharmacist that was training me originally. She said to me, the more you know, the more difficult compounding gets, because you look into things more and more, and you find more data behind things, but it makes you more comfortable. It makes you go, okay, well, I know this, I've come across this before, and you feel more comfortable with what you're doing. But the more you know, the more you want to know, and the more you start to research and investigate.
Yeah, and then the World Wide Web just becomes this plethora of information that you have to decide to can of worms.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's awesome. That is really, really cool. All right, personal interests. Bit more about Eliza. Ooh. This is cool. Hobbies and passions outside of work.
Super nerdy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So
I love reading.
There you go.
I love baking. I love reformer Pilates.
Oh yeah, that was new this year, last year.
Maybe this year.
The thing you bought for home.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very important purchase for home.
And how's it going?
Died off a bit with all my morning sickness.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was on a boat.
Every day for the entirety.
I had a week
of her
off.
pregnancy?
I had 1 week off.
Oh, a week of reprieve?
It was good.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How do you balance that and still turning up to be a mum and a wife and a team leader and a pharmacist?
I just don't sit down a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Kelly asked me once, how do you do it when you get home? And I said, well, I simply don't sit. And then I do everything I need to do. Then I sit down or I'm not getting back up.
Full credit to you, Eliza.
But as well, the good thing about here is I can go home, and when I'm home, I'm home. I don't have to deal or think about work. So when I go home, I'm at home. And we make sure, we fill our weekends or my day off with wholesome family activities. Exploring the scenic rim and stuff like that, finding new little creeks to go to and things like that. So as long as I have my wind down time, my reading calms my brain down, and I balance that with work. It's, I do my best though.
Yeah.
Some weeks are better than others.
The nature of the world we live in at the moment, hey?
Absolutely.
So the work-life balance is ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We can all only do our best.
100% right. I'm a big believer in that too. You just got to put your best foot forward, take the next step, and very cool. Very cool. Your approach to health and wellness, I guess it's tricky, isn't it? We're in a sort of a health and wellness industry.
Yeah. I think, again, I do my best. I think there's a lot to be said about prevention. I think, exercise and eating is obviously very important. Exercise being one of the best because it helps your body and your brain. Helps with anti-aging, helps with producing good chemicals in your body. I use it not for fitness, really. It's to help me de-stress because, if your stress levels are up, you're never going to be healthy. I eat the best I can, but then there are some weeks where it's just I don't. And not everyone does. I think people are lying if they say they eat and do everything perfectly all the time. We can call this the capsule conversation of honest conversation. Of truth. Absolutely. Yeah. Here. But yeah, I think prevention's definitely key. I have my own, chronic autoimmune problems. So I always have had to be pretty mindful of the things I eat or the lifestyle I lead. I need to lead a pretty clean lifestyle. I'm not much of a, when not pregnant, drinker, just because it's, so inflammatory and that sort of thing, which my body can't handle. So I try to do that for my family as well. And I think approach to health and wellness is as well, like I've said, most of this is a balance between integrative and natural combined with traditional medicine as well. Yeah, cool. Very cool. So that was almost, we've really just covered off a few questions in that whole swoop then. Well done to you. Look at you go. So it's not yapping, it's fabulous. So
Look, we've been running for a little while, and it's been awesome to chat with you. So do you want to just, given this is our very first episode of Capsule Conversations, it's been awesome. It has been really, really awesome.